we feel what we feel? What is the purpose of feeling? I've asked myself that many times. Some feelings are enjoyable, others not so much. In much contemplation about this topic, I realized there's a difference between feeling and emotion. I perceive now feeling as inner messengers to communicate to our consciousness an inner state, an inner activity within our being that wants to be noted, honored, and processed. Feeling is a messenger of an inner state or activity. The stopping and listening in the hustle and bustle of our days to pay attention to our feeling is an invitation to not just perceive the world around us, to not only look outward, but to also look inward, because there's valuable data being made available in order to essentially make sense of our life experience. How often have I found myself so focused on the outer world, asking questions for clarity and seemingly running in circles. In hindsight, I now realize I was missing the inner reflection to see the full picture. That's where our feelings come in. They offer us a more complete pulse of the moment, a more complete interpretation of what we're perceiving to be real, and thus a information highway to clarity that comes from our core and cannot be found outside. Ignoring our feelings, how many of us had been taught, is therefore counterproductive and limiting, because it diminishes the full scope of data that we need in any given moment in order to process life effectively, and in order to then respond to situations most resourcefully, to truly make informed decisions. In order to do that, we need outside information as well as inside information. It is like a mirroring or comparing notes if the inner and outer reflection that we perceive jive or not. That then gives us the stimuli to question, to look deeper, to understand better. Having been taught to look outside of ourselves for answers only gives us one side of the coin of information. As valuable as that is, it is only one side of the coin. It is not a full spectrum picture of the true reality happening, because it disregards the inner reality that is happening simultaneously, and some might say is actually the core projection of what we then perceive as our outer reality. So when it comes to asking, how can I change my current situation? Most of us have been trained to look outside for inspiration and solutions, overlooking that only by looking inside into our true, authentic understanding of what needs to change is the cause of the issue actually retainable. Without this inner reflection, without consulting our feelings about topics that matter, we are undergoing scientific research with only part of the data, which any scientist will tell firmly is an incorrect approach. Feelings, one might want to say, are our friends, not the enemy. Feelings are inner states of being, an inner activity we can observe. A feeling of unease, a feeling of happiness, a feeling of being angry. It's a beingness that is being observed. Therefore, feelings are an essential key to understanding our human beingness. What is the difference between feeling and emotion? To emote, curiously, according to their definition, refers to an actor portraying an emotion. What is the difference between feeling and emotion? One could say An emotion is an outward projection of an inner state, aka feeling. Being angry turns into the emotion of anger, is being stated as the emotion of anger. The activity is turned into a proclamation of an outward projection. The process of expressing emotions, curiously, therefore, allows us to project our feelings outward, to voice them in the context of vocabulary our society has defined to communicate outwardly what the inner state is trying to tell us. Why is that important? To feel a feeling and to be conscious of that feeling is a powerful first step in order to honor what is happening within us. Sometimes recognizing that feeling and just taking note of it is all it takes, especially when it is a feeling we have peace with, we're comfortable with, we're familiar with. Now, when it comes to feeling things that we have a hard time pinpointing, understanding the cause of, and trying to figure out how to deal with, aka process, invites to identify an emotion that might help us clarify the feeling we're feeling. It's almost like a level up in giving this feeling voice, giving it noted attention, appropriate importance, and also an invitation to communicate potentially to another what is happening within us, if we so choose. What I find interesting is a realization I had recently that by voicing our feeling as an emotion, we project this feeling outward, which not only allows us to communicate it to another human, another person, but to actually project it out of our internal self in order to place it in front of us and allow us to look at it from a distance. So the process of voicing feelings in the form of emotion actually allows us to take a step back from our emotion, from the entanglement of the feeling and the trying to figure out what that feeling is, by allowing us to look at it from an observer's perspective. Thus, the feeling entanglement is loosened, set aside temporarily. which can afford us a level of clarity that is at times challenging to obtain while feeling entangled in our feelings and emotions. Thus, this approach is an incredibly important key to release the projection or perception that one is a victim of one's emotions. One is helpless to experience what one experiences. That is only true when we stay in the entangled state. Feelings are our friends, our inner messengers, so wanting us to have assistance to navigate life. Voicing them as an emotion, identifying them as a particular emotion, does not mean we have to commit ourselves to staying in that particular emotion indefinitely now, but instead allows us to find clarity of our inner state from an observer's perspective, and therefore decide again what the information is that is being given to us in that moment and what we choose to do with that. Therefore, this process turns us from the object of the experience into the creator of the experience. If I feel frustrated and I note the emotion of frustration or anger, and I look at it sitting there in front of me, I can acknowledge that I feel frustrated at that moment and inquire what caused said frustration, in order to then offer relief to this feeling and potentially change the emotion I then choose to engage in. For example, being frustrated, being stuck at a red light in traffic can come from a feeling that's connected, which is the feeling of being rushed through the day. Both creating an emotion of frustration that I can choose to engage in and feed into, or can decide to alleviate by giving myself a break, which the red light invites so gloriously. To sit at that light and maybe take a look around at beautiful flowers along the road, a setting sun on the horizon, or to listen to birds singing in a nearby tree. Thus inviting myself to change a self-feeding feeling of frustration into a feeling of ease and an emotion of peace. We are the creators of our own feelings, and we are the namers of our emotions. We are invited to listen, to sense, and to choose consciously. Blessed be.